Alright, it's time for the 70s Catholic themed horror slasher film, Alice, Sweet Alice. It was released three different times, get this. The first one in 1976, then in 78, and then in 81, all due to the rise of this being Brooke Shields' first film ever. She was only 10 years old, and then she was 14 years old when they filmed Blue Lagoon, which is the 1980 hit that made her famous. So then they released it when slashers even got bigger the next year in 1981 under a title like Holy Terror. This is the alternate poster for it. It looks awesome. It's a really awesome film for the era that it came out, 1976. It's like a suspense murder mystery, even though the movie's like an hour and 40 minutes long. They keep the dialogue flowing and the characters interesting, and the violence depicted in it was well shot for the era.
So, it's got some nothing memorable in it. It's an alright, it's a time waster for me.
It's a time waster for Keckler, as I just knocked over the thing. But back to the point, the violence and the death scenes. They were creative and a step above for the movies of its era, like The Brood and Class Reunion Massacre. Check, better than that. Savage Weekend, and definitely better than Halloween, because Halloween didn't even go for any gore. This is the film. It's got the iconic image just for a few different scenes it's known for. It makes the top 100 lists of scariest moments of all time. It might be forgotten if it wasn't for Brooke Shields, it being Brooke Shields' film debut. And then the girl that plays the main girl, Alice, in it is Paula Shepherd. She was 19 playing a 12-year-old. They also had a book tie-in to this because it was the 70s, and books and newspapers and magazines were like the equivalent to the internet to them. So, of course, there was a book tie-in like a lot of other 70s horror movies that have been forgotten. Let's get on to the story and the plot. For those of you, I give it a B overall. I'm doing my 9-spoiler plot right now, then I'll get into the ending and spoilers later. But basically it follows the story of a woman who's living a single mother's life with two young daughters, and Brooke Shields, like a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old, and Brooke Shields is the younger one. And the 12-year-old, who's the brat, who they think the killer is, obviously, and the killer dresses up in this outfit, the raincoat and mask. And so Brooke Shields is killed really early on, about 10 minutes into the film, during her first communion. I heard that, no, the original title was Communion. Like I was saying, it's a Catholic-themed horror movie. So in this, like Columbia and and other distributors shied away from it from being a Catholic theme. So they changed the theme of the title out to Alice, Sweet Alice. But that's pretty much all I have to say for non-spoilers for right now. For an hour and 40 minutes, they keep the story going, and it's intriguing. Pretty well done. Definitely worth a watch. So, on to the ending and the dope parts. The killer and its motive. So we finally learn that the killer is... Okay, if you want to find out the best way to guess the killer is, it gets to the point 3/4 of the way of the movie, you line up all the suspects, and then you just go, okay, it can't be him because he was here in this scene, and I don't see it being him. You pretty much got it. I got it down to 3 characters. Obviously the housekeeper, Alice, obviously, and then Brooke Shields couldn't be dead, or could she? But it ended up being the housekeeper, and basically she's like a mentally deranged old Catholic woman who's underappreciated, who's been working like as a servant for like Catholic priests, and who's pretty much brainwashed by old-time biblical customs of like slaying women for committing adultery or not saving their virginity to marriage because she had 2 kids out of wedlock. And so that's basically why she's punishing the children for her sins. And it's pretty dope, honestly. The motives, if you really get inside her head, and then they go on. She goes on her killing spree to finish out, dealing out, sins of the other characters in the movie. Then it gets to the communion for the ending. Amazing ending. They refuse to give her communion, and she ends up stabbing the priest. It's fucking classic. The ending alone just makes it like a B,
I heard that, and I think the child kills the guy. I'm not sure.
They try to make you think Alice is the killer the whole time, but obviously you know that there's going to be a twist, and it ends up being the old woman, like I was saying. So, awesome film. Definitely check it out if you love 70s horror, and if you hate films with a lot of filler. This doesn't have that much filler, even though it's an hour and 40-minute movie. It keeps you intrigued. I'm out.